What's up guys, my name is Colin Craig. I work for the Los Angeles Dodgers and their player development system, but I make YouTube videos on the Texas Rangers because they are my favorite team. So if you guys like the Texas Rangers, make sure to subscribe right now. So here are 10 outfielders the Texas Rangers could acquire this offseason. Number 10 is David Peralta. He's an old outfielder, longtime Diamondback, but he still provides a solid platoon and he's cheap. Number 9 would be Mancini, the former Baltimore Oriole and Houston Astro. He's not my favorite player out of this mix because he's on the decline. He has no defense, so he wouldn't really be a nice left fielder. However, he does have a good track record from the past, and he does have a nice expected home run metrics from last year, mainly because Baltimore raised their fence, so he missed out on a lot of home runs there. Number 8, Profar, former Texas Ranger. This guy actually has a nice upside because he is versatile and he came off a good season and his bat is off and on, but he could play left field for us. He could play third base if Josh Young isn't playing too well, and he could be a utility man if people aren't sold on Josh Smith or Mark Mathias. Number 7 is Bryan Reynolds, and no, I don't think he will get traded this offseason. Maybe the Rangers could look at him at the trade deadline if the Pittsburgh Pirates would look to lower the trade requirements, but as of right now, I don't think a trade will be happening. Yes, he is an elite guy, but as of right now, that's not happening if they want to keep it at F1. So I think a fair ask would be something right above the Joey Gallo trade ask that we got from the New York Yankees. Number 6 is Anthony Santander from the Baltimore Orioles. And yes, the Baltimore Orioles were close to making the playoffs last year, and you would think that they would not want to trade off any other pieces. However, the Baltimore Orioles did trade Jorge Lopez last year, and that's made a lot of the fans scratch their heads. But their GM was thinking, well, we probably wouldn't even make it far if we made the playoffs. So they want to get some capital for the farm system. And Anthony Santander there is the closest to free agency. And this is his best season in his career. So it would make sense for them to capitalize on this if the Rangers were to get him. It's a decent bat, not that great of a defensive player, but it'd be interesting to see what the Baltimore Orioles would do. Number 5 is Alex Verdugo from the Boston Red Sox. Verdugo hasn't been the guy he was praised to be in the Mookie Betts trade. However, at best, he still is a solid platoon versus right-handed pitching with the upside of getting more back to his 2020 season version. However, I think the Red Sox moved Verdugo more in a trade for a guy like Bryan Reynolds, but you still have to look at Verdugo for the Texas Rangers. Number 4 is Seth Brown of the Oakland Athletics. Now, this guy is old. He's 30 years old, but you get a lot of team control because this guy was a late bloomer and he would come relatively cheap. But also, Oakland is in the midst of a rebuild, so they're willing to trade anybody, as they have demonstrated as they traded Matt Olson, Matt Chapman, and Sean Murphy. So look for a potential trade of Seth Brown. Number 3, Austin Meadows. And I recently made a video on trading for Austin Meadows, so if you haven't watched that, make sure to click that link right there. Austin Meadows would be a good upside addition because he's been an all-star in the past and has shown that he can hit from both sides of the plate. But the worst, he'd be a nice, a really good platoon versus right-handed pitching if he were to be able to stay healthy. However, the question is, what are the Tigers going to do? Obviously, in 2021, they had an encouraging season. 2022, that went down the drain. So would the Tigers be willing to trade Austin Meadows for a really cheap value, or would they be willing to let him play again, recoup some value, and maybe trade him at the deadline? Number 2 is the St. Louis Cardinals outfielders. So right now they have a surplus of outfielders. They've had a lot of guys develop internally, as well as flyers on minor league signings. So right now I'd be looking at Tyler O'Neill, who had a great 2021 season, didn't play well last year. He doesn't look like he has a spot. Same with Dylan Carlson. Those guys look like they could be on the outs. Obviously, Tyler O'Neill is closer to free agency, so he might be an easier trade target. But with Carlson, you get more years of team control, and maybe the Rangers view it as, okay, It's still raw. We could work with it. Carlson, great on defense, but still needs some work. So interesting to see what the Cardinals do. I definitely think they trade one of their outfielders. They probably want a starting pitcher in return. Would the Rangers be willing to trade one of their lower starting pitchers like Glenn Otto? We will see. And number 1 on the list is Max Kepler. I think this is the most realistic option if we don't go for any of the free agent signings. But Max Kepler has been on the trade block for a while, and this guy has great upside as well. If you look at his 2019 season, he had around 4 WAR, which is insane. I think that could be a good sign for this year, as there won't be any shift. So I think Max Kepler could really shine, and his baseball savant page is off the page, relatively speaking, for a guy that's available at this point in the offseason. And even if his bat were to stay the same as it has for the past 2 years, he still provides great defense, great base running. However, his contract is a little expensive, $8 million this year, versus if you were to trade for somebody like Seth Brown, who'd be around $1 million. I don't think it could take a lot of prospects. Minnesota's in a weird position. Do they want to compete? Do they want to stay mediocre? We will see. So depending on what Minnesota wants to do, that will determine what prospects they want. And also, Max Kepler has a team option for next year. But those are the 10 outfielders I think the Rangers could look to pursue. And I really do think one of these outfielders on this list will be on a Texas Rangers uniform next year. If you liked the video, please give a thumbs up down below and subscribe to the channel. That really helps out with the algorithm. And with that being said, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.